Yeah, I hope you guys can hear me. Uh, yeah, I usually just forget to record it. But yeah, if you remind me, I will. Like, yeah. So as I was saying, I think I'm gonna share my screen again. Yeah. So here, a lot more demonstrations. Um. So as I was saying, right, we have Boolean expressions. Okay, and the main goal of the Boolean expression is to determine whether the condition or a condition in question is true or false. Okay, sorry. So now we have a way to check or the relational operators. Okay, that is your double equal to and all those things, right? They are all ways for you to check the true or false condition. Okay, so with that, uh, should I restart this thing? Okay. So, first line. Okay, so there's the syntax of the if. Okay, of the if goes like if, then into bracket, or not into brackets, but if, then your condition. Okay, so your condition can be if x is greater than 5, then you put your colon there, and then you come down, and then you indent. So you leave 4 spaces, right? You leave 4 spaces, and then you go ahead. Then you go ahead and then write out what you want to happen if x is less than 5. Okay, so in this case, you can see that if x is less than 5, maybe add 1 to x. Okay, so it's something simple I want to demonstrate. I don't know where the console is. Okay, so this is basically something we call the counter. I hope all of you can see the screen, right? So what the counter does is that it increase the value of the, so let's set x to be 0. Okay, then come into the function and say that, or come into the if statement, okay, and say that as long as x is less than, yeah, less than 100, right? And then you bring your colon, okay, you say that, okay, so as long as x is less than 100 or 10, right? Make x, sorry, let x be equal to the same x plus 1, right? And then print the value of this x, right? So if you run this code, what you realize will happen, okay, is that it will take x as 0. Then when it hits the if statement, it will check, is x less than 10? Yes. Then it will add 1 to the x, so x becomes 1. Then it will display 1. Then it will keep the 1. So then our 1 becomes our new value of x. So it begins running this until the condition is met. So you have to else, right? You can have an if without an else, technically. Okay, so let me run this and let's see something. Right now, what did it do? This is not exactly the counter, but I just wanted to demonstrate something to you. What we use the counter best with is loops. Okay, so another program called the loop. We'll do loops maybe next week. So yeah, so with the loop, right, it will run the code until a certain condition is met. But this one, when the condition is met, it will take the action. So here, the value of x was 0, right? Then it checked, is x less than 10? X is indeed less than 10. So what it did is that I took the 0 here, and then added 1 to it and set that as the new value of x. Then it displayed x here for us as 1. Okay, so with programming as anything, practice makes perfect. Okay, so I wanted to go over the relational operators. This, you have greater than, you have greater than or equal to, you have less than or equal to, you have not equal to, not equal to, you have less than, yeah, basically these are them, right? So please, if you have any questions, you can draw my attention. Okay, so we can write all sorts of, or we can account for all sorts of conditions with these. Yeah, is this, yeah, still being recorded? So we can account for all sorts of conditions with these, what we call them, the relational um operators. Yeah, I think that's okay. So, yeah, with the relational operators. Now there are certain other types of relational operators. Now their function is for more than one condition. Okay, so these ones are for a single condition. So the question is, as I was doing the last time, um, so I think we've seen the use of greater than. You can try greater than or equal to. Those things you can try not equal to or equal to, those things. But if you have a multiple condition, okay, or you have multiple conditions, right? We employ a different set of operators to deal with the multiple conditions, right? So I told you the last time that there are certain words that the Python console or every programming language or the Python programming language reserves for itself, right? So these are the keywords in the program. So for this one, or for relating two or more conditions, and is not, I think, is also um reserved by the console, or is also. So let's try a simple case, right, where we go and say that if um condition A, if condition A and condition B are both true. Please don't forget your semicolon, else it will throw an error. Yeah, we'll do error catching very soon. Oh, but so it will throw you, or if you should leave a semicolon, to throw an error. So please, the if can exist without the else, right? If can exist without the else. Just that the if the true condition is not met, it will just not do anything. People. So condition A, condition B, if they are both true, right? If they are both true, please can you see my screen? Because I'm just getting a message that participants can now see your screen. Okay. So if condition A and condition B are both true, then the action here will run, right? Now, okay, sure. So, okay. So if condition B, condition A again, if condition A or condition B, B is true, just one of them needs to be true, then it will run the action under it, right? Now, for the last one, if neither, so condition A is not true, condition A is not true, and with this one, condition B, um, condition, condition B is also not true. What will happen here, okay, is that it will check. You are relating the two of them. So if condition A is not true, right, and condition B is not true, the fact is that you are saying that condition A should not be true and condition B should not be true. So they are both false. Okay, so for the A and B or for the AND situation, you require both of them to be true, right? For here, for the OR, you require that one of them is true. But for the not, some you see some programming languages use not. Okay, some versions of Python use not. Okay, others just use the exclamation equal to, right? So if this and this they both will bring false values, then it will run. So I think you do this thing if you do maybe electrical in logic gates. Okay, so logic, digital logic, right? So if this is true and this is yes, and so this high, this low, one zeros ones, the zero ones, you understand it a bit, or they treat it like much deeper there. But the point is quite simple, right? If a condition and the next condition are both true to run the action, if a condition or another condition, so I'll take examples very soon. I just want to go. So please, as I said, the structure of the if statement, right? It's if your condition, and I think I made this distinction last week. Your true condition, because if, right, then your colon comes, then the action you want to be undertaken, if the condition is true, then if you want an action to be undertaken, if the condition is false, then you put your else, then it will run the action. So that is basically how the if statement works. Now we have something we call nesting. As I was explaining, right, with indentation and indentation, you have a parent and you have a child. What happens, what I mean by parent and child is that there are certain things that are found in, or there are certain elements that are found within other elements, or that are kept within other elements. Okay, so one thing with nesting, okay, is that if I came to put another if here, okay, so if I say if true condition, true condition, right, and then action, what will happen? Okay, what is going on is that this second if block is nested within the first if block, or is contained within the first if block. So what happens? What it means is that when this code is running, okay, it's going to come, as I said, line by line. It's going to check, is this condition true? If this condition is true, right, it will run this action. Then it will continue into this side. It will leave the else out, correct? But that's how it will continue to run this, run the action, check this, then run the action. Okay, so the nested ifs, right? So I'll give examples for all of them, but my point is that you can nest ifs within ifs, right? So you can do it with the else's too. It doesn't really make much of a difference, but at least if you don't have an if, you can't have an else. Okay, if there's no if, there's no else. So just like you can have if in the absence of else, you can't have else in the absence of if. Okay, so basically you can contain an if within an if. So when the first condition is checked, so here, if the first condition fails, it will not check if the second condition is true. To just skip everything under it and then come to the else and forget all this. Okay. Now, yeah, I just want us to cover all the theory in the next few minutes so that we can start doing. Okay, so some of your Boolean operators. So yeah, there's this distinction I wanted to make. Okay, so there are Boolean operators and then relational operators. Okay, so the Boolean operators and the relational operators are quite similar. Okay, so this is I think the other one, just the two of them. Um, Now, what these ones are, okay, what these ones basically are, okay, is that they are trying to ascertain whether um your condition is true. Okay. I think we call them the Boolean operators. Okay. So is this less than this? True or false? Okay. Is this greater than this? True or false? Basically, that is what they do. So we call them the Boolean operators. Okay, let me just write at the top. We call them the Boolean operators. Right. And then the Boolean expression is basically the true or false, like the actual word true and then false. So you can actually set a variable to true or false. Then we have the relational operators. Their job is to try and relate the two different conditions, whether they are, I don't want to use the term relatable, but whether both conditions meet the required um, yeah, whether they meet the required specification. So we have the A and B here. You have the, please if you have any question, you can ask. Okay. The A and D here, you have the OR. If you feel like you don't understand anything, so just ask so that, and then OT. But some, as I was saying, some just expect you to. Okay, so yeah, so I think I've made I'll check this one because they are quite very similar in their use. But um, I think if this is a boolean and this is the relation, I'm not quite sure. Okay, but I just want you to understand their use. Okay, so these ones, okay, are used when you want, well, when you are dealing with multiple conditions, okay, and these ones are used when you are trying to ascertain the truthiness of a particular condition or the Boolean states of a particular condition. Okay, whether the condition is true or false. Right? And these ones, now the ones at the bottom, the and or not for multiple conditions. Okay, so and then there's this one thing in conditional statements, right? So as I was saying, you know, the format is mhm. So the format for the format for the if is if, right? Your true condition, right? And then your action, if conditional action, and then your else, right? And then your action. So the point is that your if condition is covering a small portion. Anything else can be um in your else region. So your else region as a solution set is very, very big. Okay. So usually and with the if, we can only kind of account for one scenario or one condition. But then there's this line of code called the else if. So in Python, the syntax is elif. Okay. So basically what elif does is that it will take a second true condition. And you can have as many elifs as you like. Then you take an action. So what the code will do is that it will check, is the first if condition true? No. Then it will ignore it. Is else if so that's the else. Else if the first one is not true, right? Run this. right? Then if the elif is also not true, then it will run the else. So as I say, you can have as many elifs as you want, as many elifs. You see, the elifs allow you to account for maybe certain outliers in the sense that um, certain things that you haven't really planned for but have to take an action on. I think so the elite basically, let's just try a simple example. Right? So you want children, or you have ages between 10 and 50, right? Between 10 and 50. Yeah. So you want your first condition is for the first 20 people to take a certain action. So the first condition is first 20. But then if the person is not within the first 20 and you don't have an elif, what will happen is that the moment the thing is 21st, the else will run. So the else is covering 30 states, and then the if is carrying 20 states, right? So all of a sudden you have to account for maybe between 20 and 25. Okay. So you can say that, right? If the person is not in the first 20, but from the range between 20 to 25, he wants this action to be run. Same, similar, or similar thing. If you want from 26 to 51, you want a particular condition. So here we are accounting for three different conditions. Then any other condition that is not within our stipulated conditions. Okay, so we are accounting for the first 20 between 21 and 25. Okay, and then between 26 and 31. Okay, so LF allows us to account for these kind of multiple, this also the multiple condition type conditional statement or conditional syntax. But what it does here, okay, is that it's checking, is our first condition met? No. Then it will check, is our second condition met? No. The third condition met? No. Then it run the else. Okay. So it's like we're having many if statements. Okay. So basically, that is what we did on Tuesday, because people were like, some people were like they didn't get it, right? So I've gone through everything, right? So we are just now going to be um trying examples. Okay, so um let me see. Um let's build a simple game. Okay. The youth of today like games. I've so to install the game, okay, I'm not going to use Pi game or anything, just something simple, a dice game. Okay, so I'll come, as I said, when we are writing code, I just love commenting. Okay, so this is the multi-line comment. So a simple, they have, this is the comments you can rejoin with the same, like, okay, but the other class won't last as long. This one is just to demonstrate all we've done to you, right? A simple dice game. I hope I'll cover every condition possible. Now, I'm coming to use pip. Okay, it's Python's package manager, right? With pip, we can install any Python library we want. Now, the library I want to install is called, um, let me add that. It's called randint. Okay. Oh, sorry, the Python library I want to install is called random. Usually it comes preloaded, random, right? So what the one random library does, okay, is that it allows you to pick things at random. So you can pick integers at random, float at random. So it basically allows you to pick things at random. You see, I think random is installed. It comes, I just want to show you how you would install it if maybe, yeah, so pip install random. It comes with every like it's one of the foundational libraries, so it comes with every. I'm just checking if I have it installed here. If I have it installed, it will give me some kind of error. Yeah, it's basically telling me to update my paper, but I'm not going to do that. So you can see that from, so if you want to import an external library into your particular Python script, you go and say from, right? And then you call the name from random. Okay, it's installed already, right? From random. Import rand int, right? So what I've done is that I've imported a random integer, right? You can hover on it and check how it's used. So basically it's telling you that um, it's unused. That's why it's appearing ash and gray and stuff like that. Okay. So this is always, almost always installed on every Python console that you have. So what do I want, right? A dice has 6 sides. Okay, so um, but basically it's a guessing dice game. Okay, so a guessing dice game. Okay, so you guess, right? And then the die will roll, and then it will tell you whether your guess is correct. Okay, so first things first, as we were saying, right? We need um user that's the user's guess, right? So we take inputs from the user, right? And we tell him that we tell the user to enter your somebody has something. Oh, sure. We can get it's being recorded at the moment, so sure we can get the record. The last class, I don't think I remember to record it, so but this one I'm recording it. Somebody reminded me. So let me see, but yeah, it's still being recorded. So yeah, yeah. So enter your guess, right? So we tell the user to enter his guess, right? Then from there, what we do is that we come to let's call it actual role. Because I've explained variables. If you don't understand anything about variables, you can draw my attention. Okay, so it's basically a container. So what our actual role is going to do is that we are going to use this, what we imported, the library we imported, rand int, okay? And then we are going to say that it should give us values between 1 and 6, right? Then what we want to say is that if, this is a simple game, right? If the actual role equal to the user's guess, right? What we want to happen is to print you got it right, right? So, okay, admit. So, sorry about that. So, else, right? If, um, if, else, if, print, print, you, this, you didn't, you didn't, get it, um, right. Right. So basically, this is a simple game we're running, simple game we're playing, right? So if I run this, not getting any errors, so enter my guess. My guess is, let's say, hmm, let's say 3. So I didn't get it right. But the question is that I wanted to display to me what the actual value was. Okay, so I'll say that um, print the actual value. So actual row, comma, or comma, is the actual row. So I run this again. right? So two, three is the actual row, right? So you can run this as many times as you like. Can go five. Six is the actual row. Okay. I can go one. Two is the actual row. So this one is just, I just want a situation where I get it correct. Four. Okay, one is the actual row. So this one, three is the actual row and things. So this one you can just keep guessing till you get it. Does anybody have any idea? I want to get it on to everything. Okay, right. So we are basically saying that as long as I don't get it correct, it will run the else. It doesn't matter what I type, right? What is the actual rule? I'm trying the one last time. Hope I'm lucky. I'm feeling like five would be, I guessed five. Right. So this is one of the things where I guess five, but it didn't work. So even though the code is not giving you an error, something is happening here. Okay. This library, okay, rand int, okay, it is returning an integer between or from 1 to 6. Now, what your user is inputting is a string from a string basically. So even though you have typed 5, and yes, I had a feeling it was 5, and I typed 5, it's seeing this 5 that I entered as a string, and the 5 that the actual or the user guesses 5 is string, and then the actual rows 5 is an integer. So in its eyes, string and integer, not true. They are not the same, even though they're the same 5. So for to account for this, you just need to say that, okay, convert this into an integer. Okay. So whatever the user will type will be immediately converted into an integer. Okay. So if I, okay, so I think I have to go through this a while to get the right answer. Uh, the class is the call to about it. I want to get Uh, does anybody have an idea if anybody feeling like uh, I can get it, I can let it just print, I can put, let me just save us all the time and stuff where we are just testing the code. We are not doing anything. We'll talk about pass through very soon. Print actual. So basically, if I see that the code reruns, yeah, stuff can rerun. It will tell me that guess. So if I enter, yeah, you got it right. So just about changing the position and telling it to print it for me. So once this and this is the same, you got it right. You bow. So sometimes it's about realizing when it comes to if condition or the if condition, strings, the data types are important. Make sure you are comparing similar data types. If it's a string, you are comparing it to a string. If it's a boolean, you are comparing it to a boolean. If it's a